in the northeast. It will allow for a chilly start here, but quite quickly, once the sun's up, those temperatures will start to tick up through the day. As we go through the day, not a great deal of change. I'm hopeful the cloud will break up a little bit more and we'll see some sunny spells. So dry and bright basically sums it up, but there will be a few showers coming into Northern Ireland during the afternoon. Later, they could drift into western Scotland. Temperature-wise, well, about average for the time of year for most, but still feeling quite cool, especially if it stays cloudy in northeast England, only 16 or 17 here. Bit of sunshine, we could see temperatures into the low 20s elsewhere. Sunday sees the threat of a few showers into western Scotland, but again, pretty well scattered. Most places will stay dry, and many places will see a bit more in the way of sunshine coming through. And as a result, temperatures just lifting by a little bit. And into Monday, I'm even more optimistic for sunny skies for many and slightly warmer.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M6 northbound in Lancashire at junction 29, 10-minute delays should clear by 7:15. An accident between Penparkow and Southgate on the A487 has diversions. The M4, 2 southbound near Solihull between junctions 5 and 4, has 2 lanes closed due to a collision, with a 30-minute delay expected. In Greater London, a collision on the M25 anti-clockwise between junctions 26 and 25 has 1 lane closed, and another incident in Surrey between junctions 8 and 7 sees 1 lane closed. And on the trains, taxis replace trains between Bourne End and Marlow on Great Western Railway. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
What does it feel like to be a Great British Giveaway winner?
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
Do you know what? I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
Yes, that is fantastic.
You know, you have no idea how much I needed it. Oh my goodness.
You've won £54,321.
Please don't joke. This would change my life.
Oh, thank you so much. I was gobsmacked. Thank you, GB News.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
You really could be our next big winner. Head over to gbnews.com/win now to find out how and get your entry for the Great British Giveaway. Great prizes, even greater wins.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. Tonight on the show we have political commentator Chloe Dobbs. She'll be going head to head with GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. We've also got criminal solicitor Marcus Johnson and retired top cop Leroy Logan. But first, let's go to the news.
Very very good evening. It's just gone 7 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. Top story this evening, Lucy Connolly has accused Sir Keir Starmer of holding her as a political prisoner and says it was bizarre that she had to spend more than a year behind bars. Speaking to The Telegraph, she said that she is considering legal action against the police following her release from prison for stirring up racial hatred against asylum seekers online. She explained that she does believe that they were dishonest in what they released and that she will be holding them to account. Ms Connolly was handed a 31-month sentence but left HMP Peterborough yesterday morning after being released on licence.
Of course it wasn't my finest moment, and I definitely don't advocate violence or burning anything down or anything of the sort. To be honest, it was emotion, does that make sense? I don't know what was going on. I was just so upset and so angry and just thinking to myself, when will this stop, you know? I was just anger, you know, like, and just, I wasn't thinking rationally.
Somani Hotels, the owner of the Bell Hotel in Epping and the Home Office, will seek to appeal against the High Court's refusal to allow it to intervene in the case of a hotel used to house asylum seekers in Epping. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp has condemned the Home Office's decision, calling it completely wrong. His comments come ahead of the expected protest outside hotels being used to house asylum seekers in temporary accommodation over the next few days. New figures reveal that more than 32,000 asylum seekers are currently living in hotels, an 8% increase since Labour's first year in power. And Benjamin Netanyahu says the IPC have ignored recent humanitarian steps made by Israel in Gaza amid their declaration of a famine in Gaza City. The UN-backed food security body warns that more than 500,000 people face starvation, destitution and death under catastrophic conditions. The Israeli Prime Minister says their report is an outright lie, and he insists that Israel has a policy of preventing starvation. This comes as Mr Netanyahu confirms that Israel will resume negotiations with the terror group Hamas for the release of all hostages captured during the October 7th attacks, but its military will also continue its Gaza City offensive despite international outcry. Those are your latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. I'm Lee Anderson, the Reform UK Member of Parliament for Ashfield. And joining me tonight, we've got our left in the corner, Nigel Nelson, Senior Political Correspondent, commentator for GB News. I should know that, shouldn't I? And we've got political commentator Chloe Dobbs, a great friend of the show. Anyway, guys, this week in Epping, a bit of result for residents. They managed to get the illegals removed from the hotel, the infamous hotel, over a change of use issue. They've not gone through the correct procedure. Nigel, is this a victory or just a short-term victory?
Well, it's chaos for the government, so we'll have to see if any other councils follow on this. Certainly, they're intending to. The question, obviously, is whether they'd be successful in using the same kind of appeal. What it is causing is a real headache for the government. You've got, at a minimum, the 138 migrants who are in the Bell Hotel in Essex. They've got to find somewhere else for them to go. Obviously, if they move to a different hotel, people will object to that. So the question now for the government, especially if more and more communities decide to protest, if more and more courts decide to uphold these planning laws, what it is going to mean is the government is looking at trying to find places for thousands and thousands of migrants.
Well, of course, I think Nigel's right there, Chloe, because if the final decision is left with the local council as to whether or not a hotel can house illegal migrants claiming to be asylum seekers, I cannot see many of these councils voting for this, can you?
Voting for having them closed, or?
No, to allow the hotel to have a change of use to allow illegal migrants in.
I don't think councils are going to do that. I mean, the only way they've managed to have these hotels opened is by the Home Office forcing it on places, not consulting local communities, often not telling the local authorities or anybody whatsoever, because they know locals are going to say, absolutely not, we're not having it. And what has happened, this is a really, really turning point moment, is that the people of this country have said, we're not going to have it. You can't impose on us whatever we want. We are going to make our voices heard. And it has worked, quite frankly. And this is going to have a huge domino effect for the rest of the country. If it's the case that this hotel, they've said planning that says something is for a hotel is not appropriate for housing asylum seekers who are there permanently and it's closed to the public, that's going to apply to every single hotel across the country. And even Labour councils are, rebelling against Starmer and the Home Office by saying, we're going to have a go and have a legal battle as well. We've got Wirral, we've got Tamworth. So this is really, really big. And then on the question of, well, where are we going to put them all? Is this going to make the problem worse? It is going to be absolute chaos. I expect they haven't had very much sleep in the Home Office the past couple of nights, but I think, quite frankly, they deserve that chaos after a year of doing absolutely nothing to smash the gangs, as they say. And it might give them, this chaos might give them the kick up the backside to actually stop the boats from coming in the first place, because we're talking about, what are we going to do with a couple of hundred migrants from the Bell Hotel? But you've got hundreds and hundreds coming across every single day. It's a bit windy this week, so they've got a little bit of a breathing break.
That's true.
But they're going to have to do something that maybe they will have to resort to. Yes, they'll try housing, but they're not going to be able to get the houses quick enough if these hotels are closing down all across the country. They might have to put them in camps.
We don't have hotels in Ashfield, so I'm a little bit lucky on this one. But what has happened in Ashfield, we've got quite a few HMOs, and these have been taken over by Serco. The landlord has then kicked out their usual tenants. We had one situation in Ashfield where a couple of nurses were living there. They've kicked these people out, got the double bubble rent from Serco, and put the illegal migrants in. It's going to create all sorts of issues, especially in Labour-controlled district councils.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is exactly the same if you house them within the community and give them homes there. I mean, there are 720,000 empty homes in England, so you could repurpose those. But the problem there is that you've also got double the number of people on social housing waiting lists who are after those homes. So however you look at it, it's a real major problem. I think that the answer is going to be, at least in the short term, is if they can find military bases. They're looking at things like student accommodation. Those are possibilities, but those are only sort of sticking plasters. They still have to find.
But Nigel, we shouldn't be finding them any accommodation, should we really? They shouldn't be in the first place.
Well there's nothing you can do about stopping the boats.
Yes, there is. There is, Nigel. We've had this conversation many, many times.
We have.
You turn them round. I tell you what, Nigel, how about if we detain them in secure camps, guarded by proper security, whether that's the armed forces or police or private security, whatever. I tell you what, these young men, if they knew they were going to be put into a camp, detained, not allowed to claim asylum, and then deported to a third country or their own country, they wouldn't bother getting on a boat in the first place.
First of all, you can't.
That's your solution.
You can't detain them because you can't arrest them.
You can.
You can't, because they're not criminals.
They are criminals. They're breaking this country. They're entering illegally. If I was to do passport control next week,
I know we've been through this before, but they haven't.
They might show me a passport. I would get arrested.
If you came without a passport, you would. If you came and claimed asylum immediately, you wouldn't. That's the get out. So there's nothing illegal about crossing the channel in a small boat. They may well become illegal migrants if their asylum application is refused.
I'm fed up of seeing another story every single day of some migrant being charged with a sexual assault. I don't want to see any more of it. I think it's quite hilarious that we've currently got councils in this country saying that a flag on a lamppost is a safety concern because the cloth might fall down and touch your head, but they're not concerned about the safety of the girls of this country. For me, it's beyond belief that if we're going to have migrants in hotels, that we're allowing them out of the hotels.
Exactly.
I mean, people go on all-inclusive holidays where they don't leave the hotel, and it's all right. You've got a swimming pool, you've got a jacuzzi, you've got a sunbed, right? They'll be fine. They'll be fine. They shouldn't be allowed to go out on the streets. I'm sorry, until they are vetted.
You have to let them let them out because they're not criminals. This is the point. You two are both talking about breaking the law. 77 Afghans have been convicted of sexual assault. That's against 14,000 native-born Brits in the same period.
But we can't stop our own.
You're much more likely to be
Nigel,
assaulted by somebody who is British.
We can't stop our
foreigner.
own wrong-uns being born in this country. We cannot stop that, but we can stop wrong-uns coming over the channel.
Well, that's what we can't do. What we have to try and do is find a long-term solution.
Come on, Chloe,
to
get
it.
stuck in here.
So the one-in, one-out policy that Keir Starmer has introduced.
It's not one-in,
Well,
one-out.
that apparently started 2 weeks ago, but we haven't had any update to say anyone's been sent back to France.
Well, the one-in-one policy he's introduced, the most important part of that is, for the first time, people will be considered for asylum from abroad. Now, at the moment, under the current rules, someone can only claim asylum if they're on British soil or at a British border.
And now is that going to decrease the numbers, Nigel?
Well, for a start, the ones who are being given asylum in France won't be catching small boats, so that will help. But the more important thing,
small boats anymore. I'll believe it when I see it, Nigel.
The more important thing is the principle of it, the idea that you can actually accept people for asylum from abroad. The next stage, which indeed Keir Starmer is trying to do, is see if we can find foreign processing. At the moment, we haven't found a country that's prepared to do it. He's tried Albania.
Oh, yeah, Rwanda.
Albania said
We did have
no.
Rwanda.
Rwanda was never processing. Rwanda was simply deportation, and they would stay there. I'm talking about processing the asylum applications elsewhere.
I mean, first of all, you could have used Rwanda for that. You could have said you're being deported there until we process your application. And
well, they weren't. I mean, the whole Rwanda deal was based on the idea that once
the thing is,
Rwanda,
guys, this problem is getting worse and worse and worse. And I mean, I think the Tory party, it's a bit rich coming from them now, claiming some sort of moral victory over this hotel, when actually it was the Conservative government, and I was I was a backbencher at the time, who actually started the use of these hotels in the first place. And the excuse they used at the time was it was due to COVID. We had to keep all these young men isolated in these hotels. Of course, it was nothing to do with COVID. It was due to the fact they hadn't got a clue what to do, Chloe.
Oh, they had no clue. I mean, I think the Tories, most of the time they were in power, just running around like headless chickens, and this was some sort of, last-minute panic, and we thought it was going to be short-term, and it's turned out to be actually quite long-term with the number of hotels. They got them down a little bit, but not really.
Well, half. The hotel use has been halved.
It's still extremely high.
I want to come back again.
And we've now had over 50,000 people arrive since Starmer came into power. They've got to house all those people, and realistically, they're not going to achieve anything with this problem.
But coming up next, we've got criminal barrister Marcus Johnson. Real world, real people.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's time for real people from the real world. We've got Marcus Johnston, who is a criminal defence barrister? Solicitor. So I've been looking through the notes, Marcus, and you've represented people like Charles Bronson in the past. How did that go? Because he's a bit of a wrong-un, isn't he?
Well, he is. He's been locked up a long time.
I hope you're not watching, by the way. Yeah.
He's been locked up a long time, and it's become institutionalised. And like with anybody that's been in prison most of their life, it becomes extremely difficult to ever get released.
Yeah.
So he's had numerous appeals. We worked on one of his appeals. And it's difficult. I think at some stage he will be released, but it is a peculiar case, in that I don't think he's as bad as some of the criminals that are out there.
Okay, so you represent a lot of these people who have been involved in the sexual assaults, historic abuse, grooming gangs, the Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs. How did you sort of get into that work? Because a lot of people watching this will be thinking to themselves, how can you defend some of these people?
That's right. It's, I think, just natural occurrence. My background's always been crime. I've always been interested in the criminal law, but really defending the underdog, in that the individual is just there, they're on their own, they're accused of an offence. And almost everybody that comes to me says, look, I'm innocent. And if they tell me they're innocent, then they're entitled to have a defence. And my interest has always been protecting their interests against the unlimited resources of the state. So you've got the state, the police prosecuting them, the Crown Prosecution Service, prosecuting them, the court system, which particularly in the lower courts is I think fairly pro-prosecution. So it's an uphill struggle for anybody who is accused of an offence.
So when you see these cases come on, the Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs, you see about 25 people come up on the photos. Do you defend all of those or just one of them?
No, usually just one of them, because some of the cases can be 30, 40, 50 people. And there's potentially a conflict between the different people within the gangs. So they may well have different lawyers
So that must like string the trial out a lot longer than what it would normally be.
It's difficult, it takes a long time. We've got cases at the moment probably going 3 years during the investigation stage, and it's not yet at the charge stage.
We say grooming gangs, but I think we should say the rape gangs, because that's what they're doing to these young girls. But have you seen like a pattern or an increase over the years of these gangs in the North and the Midlands?
There's been an exponential increase over the years, but I think I've been involved in this for 20 years, and yet for the last 19 years, there's been, in my view, a cover-up. The figures have not been released, they've not gathered the data. For the life of me, I do not understand why the courts do not gather the ethnicity data of people appearing before them. It just seems most peculiar to me as to why the courts and the police would not gather this data, release the data. It seems strange,
don't it? That because when you apply for a job, or there's normally a sheet at the back that asks your sex, your age range. You don't have to fill it in, by the way. Your ethnicity, religion, sexuality. Yeah, you're saying they don't in court?
No, I mean, they've never done that whilst I've been going to courts. I've been going to courts a long time. We went through a stage of maybe 6 months where all of a sudden they did start asking the ethnicity of the people appearing before them, which was a new one to me. And then a few months later suddenly stopped, and that was it. Recently I've made some freedom of information requests to gather information about ethnicity and about the data, because I've seen such an increase in particularly the Pakistani Muslims appearing in courts. And my concern is this a targeting, an unfair targeting of that group? So you've got an overrepresentation of those people being prosecuted. Or is it because they have a propensity to commit particular types of offences, i.e. sexual offences?
What is it then?
Well, the courts tell me that there's no data. They don't keep the data. So I've made several requests for information, and each request has been, we don't hold the data, or we're not telling you. I've done my own research, and I'm now regularly seeing, for example, with Snaresbrook Crown Court, one of the major courts in London, between 50 to 75% of cases every single day is all I can do is say it's a non-British name. Now, that indicates there is a massive problem of people who are not traditionally British committing serious offences against their local community. In some cases, some courts, one just recently, a couple of days ago, 100% of people appearing in that court were non-British. Wow. So there is a big increase, and that's a scary situation to have.
Let's talk, Marcus, about online stuff now, because we see a lot of nasty stuff online. We see the things pop up on our phones, the paedophile hunters. This is happening more and more. That must make it increasingly difficult for police to solve these crimes.
Police cannot solve all of these crimes. The police do their best. There's a number of undercover police officers. We deal with a lot of those types of cases, but probably 99.9% of online crimes are going undetected. It's the biggest growing area of law. Most crimes now are committed on the internet. Yeah. I'm old enough, Lee, to remember life before the internet.
Yeah,
and before we had all these types of crimes, then it was crimes on the street. Yeah. Now, although, yes, there is a big call for bobbies on the beat, and there's still obviously a lot of mobile phone thefts, for example, around London. But most crimes now, almost all crimes, are committed on the internet, particularly sex crimes. From all walks of life, from people from all backgrounds.
What sort of advice would you give to parents when the kids are up in the bedroom on the computer all night?
Very difficult. I mean, how do you monitor kids having access to a computer that's in their hand 24/7 when the kids know more about it than the parents do? You'll put some parental monitoring system on there. The kids can get round that in seconds.
You see, we have the Online Safety Act, which the government says is going to protect children. I don't think it will.
Well, it won't do anything. It won't do anything. It's taken several years to get to this stage. By the time the law's introduced, it's out of date. Yeah. It won't do anything.
And kids are smart, aren't they?
Well, they're smart, but most crimes are now, even kids who are committing, I have lots of clients who are kids themselves who are drawn into it, often by mistake. Yeah. Because if they're kids these days are experimenting sexually when they're 12, 13, 14 years old. And yet they're not allowed to look at something sexual until they're 18. And so they'll find other ways around it. And now looking for online lawful porn sites is not particularly what they want to look at. So if they're looking for something that's age appropriate, immediately they're looking at illegal material without realising it. And then they have to go into the more illegal sites in the dark web to access that information, which creates its own problems, and they then become targets of the paedophile that are hunting them.
Marcus Johnson, our time is up. That went really quick. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Coming up next, we've got Right versus Left with Chloe Dobbs and Nigel Nelson. Is a corker.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's not a bank holiday in Scotland, but elsewhere it is. 3 days of largely dry weather. Can't promise sunshine all weekend. There will be a mix of sun and clouds, but it should steadily start to warm up. High pressure is in control. Trapped under that area of high pressure, there has been quite a bit of cloud, and still through this evening and overnight, big lumps of cloud, providing a little bit of drizzle here and there, but most places won't see that and stay dry. Some decent clear spells across South Wales, southwest England, and some breaks in the cloud across northern Scotland, allowing temperatures well down into single figures here. Most towns and cities holding up about 11 to 13 degrees. Into the weekend, it is likely to start fairly drab for many, but I'm hopeful the cloud will tend to break up and we'll see some sunny spells. Like today, southwest England, South Wales should do okay for blue sky. The cloud thick enough maybe for a bit of drizzle over northern England, maybe the Midlands, and during the day, increasing threat of a few light showers just trickling towards Northern Ireland. Mostly a dry start across Scotland. We'll have some clear skies in the northeast. It will allow for a chilly start here, but quite quickly, once the sun's up, those temperatures will start to tick up through the day. As we go through the day, not a great deal of change. I'm hopeful the cloud will break up a little bit more and we'll see some sunny spells. So dry and bright basically sums it up, but there will be a few showers coming into Northern Ireland during the afternoon. Later, they could drift into western Scotland. Temperature-wise, well, about average for the time of year for most, but still feeling quite cool, especially if it stays cloudy in northeast England, only 16 or 17 here. Bit of sunshine, we could see temperatures into the low 20s elsewhere. Sunday sees the threat of a few showers into western Scotland, but again, pretty well scattered. Most places will stay dry and many places will see a bit more in the way of sunshine coming through. And as a result, temperatures just lifting by a little bit. And into Monday, I'm even more optimistic for sunny skies for many and slightly warmer.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's time for Right versus Left with Chloe Dobbs and Nigel Nelson. Look, we've got Rachel from the government at some stage over the next few months, in the autumn actually, is going to make some tax announcements, Nigel. We're feeling it very strongly that there's going to be tax increases. Has she lost control of our economy?
No, but she is priming us up for tax increases. I mean, there is a £40 billion black hole.
Oh, it's grown.
Well, there was the 22 billion that the Tories left behind, but we seem to be getting into a 40 billion black hole. She's got to try and meet her fiscal rule, and she's short of that.
Are we saying that the Tories created a 22 billion black hole over 14 years, and Labour's created one as big as that in just 1 year?
We have a problem with borrowing, and you've seen what's happened to inflation, so the economy is not looking at all healthy. We are being primed up quite clearly for tax rises. The question is where they're going to fall. Manifesto commitments mean they can't increase the big taxes, income tax, VAT, employee national insurance. So Rachel Reeves has to go for specific groups. And lots of leaks are coming out from the Treasury about who might be hit. And I think the reason is that she knows that there are no good options on the table. She's trying to find now the least worst and is softening us up for them.
See, what they always say, this cabal, Chloe, is that it won't affect working people. We won't tax working people. But where's the money going to come from ultimately?
I think realistically they're going to have to put up income tax, and that's going to be a huge lie from them, a huge hypocrisy. That was one of the number one thing they said they would not do, is raising tax on working people. But I don't see how she's going to make up the money otherwise. She's tried to tax the rich. That's what the lefties always say. Oh, we need to tax the rich. We need to tax the billionaires. They've all gone.
Yeah.
They've all run off. They've
Well,
gone. They've gone to
they haven't
Dubai.
gone.
Rachel Reeves thought before she came into power, oh, I can make all these promises about not raising taxes on working people because I'll just tax the rich. I'll just do a big hike in capital gains tax, and that will make me a load of money. She came into power completely unqualified for the job. Her CV wasn't great to start with, and then we found out she'd lied on it. That didn't work out. The Treasury ran the numbers and said that's not going to raise much money, Rachel, and it hasn't raised much money.
The non-dom tax has that we've had the HMRC payroll figures coming through. What it shows is some have left indeed, but Rachel Reeves is still on course to get £4 billion next year from them and £6 billion the year after.
Not if they all leave, Nigel. Not if they leave.
Sorry?
Not if they all leave.
No, but they haven't left.
No, but some will. Some are thinking about it.
The initial HMRC payroll figures show that they haven't left in droves as people have predicted. We won't know absolutely how many have left until January 27, when that tax year comes in. So taxing the rich worked. So then she's got the option of a wealth tax, which a number of people are putting up. If you were to tax the 20,000 people worth more than 10 million 2%, that would give her 24 billion. Pretty much filling up her black hole. Gordon Brown suggests a gambling tax. That could bring in another 4 billion.
It's all tax, Chloe, isn't it?
I think realistically you can't tax your way to growth. Maybe you're right about the non-dom tax, and I do think people are leaving and more people are going to leave. But the thing is, even if you're right and they do stay, I don't think these people are going to be deciding to invest more in their businesses and grow and take risks because they're looking at the state of the economy and thinking this is not the time. Absolutely no way. What Labour did is they promised the world to us before the general election. They made all these pledges, and consequently they needed to splash a load of cash around for all of these pledges. But what they should have done is been realistic with people and said we need to get the economy growing first, get tax receipts up as a consequence, and then maybe we can offer a bit of money for a pay rise for doctors and this and that. But they did it the wrong way round, and now they're in this vicious circle where they spend more money, then they realise, oh, we haven't got enough, we need to tax people more, the economy shrinks or doesn't grow as much as expected, and then they go, oh, the growth forecasts have been downgraded, we now need to find more money, the big black hole keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's just tax goes up, spending goes up, the economy doesn't grow.
One of the mutterings coming out of number 10, or number 11, should we say, is the scrapping of stamp duty. I agree with that, by the way. I think that's a good thing. But also looking at taxing people selling houses over £500,000. That's going to create huge problems with people trying to sell their houses.
Yes, it will. What you'll do is you'll slow down the housing market if they go that route. Also, for elderly people who are trying to downsize, there is a real problem if their house has grown in value over the intervening years. This is what I mean about them putting out a whole host of ideas that may or may not work, and just seeing how everyone reacts to them before we get to November's budget.
Well, I do agree with reforming council tax, which is another muttering.
But that'll take some time.
But like you say, you could have that old lady rattling about in a 5-bedroom house who's paying more council tax than 25 people living in the terrace house down the street.
I think that council tax wasn't revalued since it was introduced in 1991. People have expanded their homes since then, so people in a Band D property probably aren't anymore. Yes, you should actually have a revaluation, but that's not an instant source of money. That would take some time to actually do.
But Chloe, I go to visit small businesses every single week in my role as an MP, and every single business is struggling under this government. They hate this government. Why is that?
Well, they really insulted them, I think, by suggesting or implicitly suggesting that small business owners are not working people. I think that a lot of people on the left have this complete facade in their minds that anyone that owns a business is Jeff Bezos and is some huge millionaire stroke billionaire, and it's simply not the case. I mean, we're sat here in an independent pub, and this is the perfect example of a business that is struggling because they're like, how are we going to find these tens and tens of thousands extra every year for this huge hike in the minimum wage, in national insurance, the energy bills are going up, it's been over the papers over the past couple of days that they're going to go up. Again, apparently we're going to have Households even are going to have to spend 300 quid more a year. Labour told us we were going to save 300 quid, so I don't know what's happened there.
You have to admit,
but apparently they're not working people, so we can just tax them to death. You have to admit, Nigel, this government is making it increasingly difficult for small businesses to survive.
Well, I mean, I take Chloe's point. I mean, the national insurance rise was a real problem for business. So was the minimum wage. I do get that. The trouble is, the money had to come from somewhere, and the question really comes down to, if not there, where? So because Rachel Reeves won't tax all of us across the board, that would have been income tax rising, she has to go for specific groups, and specific groups squeal about it. The farmers did about inheritance tax. Now, I can understand that, but it is a question of finding the money from somewhere, and at the moment it is specific.
But it's actually cheating though, isn't it, Nigel? Because the easy thing, like Chloe said, would be to for the government to do would be to raise income tax.
That's
to get
right.
a penny or two.
What Labour shouldn't have done is made a promise not to. I mean, that was the mistake that was made during the general election.
But you say they need the tax receipts, which they do. But when small businesses that I visit say they're not going to recruit any extra staff, or they're cutting their hours down because of this Labour government, then obviously the Treasury is suffering, from the tax receipts from their businesses.
And that affects growth.
Yeah.
And then they have to put the taxes up more because they haven't got as much money as expected.
All those things are true, and I accept all that. But it is that final problem, which is what Rachel Reeves is wrestling with this summer. She's got to get the money from somewhere. So where is that money going to come from? So a wealth tax would be an obvious way, because you get a big chunk of money in one go.
But you're just squeezing business, Nigel, aren't you?
She might get a little bit of money if she tries to do a wealth tax in the short run.
24 billion is a huge amount of money.
Maybe you're right, but I'd be surprised. I'll believe it when I see it, because wealthy people, that they're smart, they get their accountants in, they figure out how they can move their money around and whatnot. They're fed up of being taxed to death, and they've got so many people that are basically working more than 6 months of the year
Wouldn't it be just
for
easier
Rachel Reeves
and quicker and less harmful if you just scrapped some of these madcap ideas they've got, Nigel, like net zero or foreign climate aid? That's about 12 billion.
We talk about economic growth. So net zero, if you forget about whether or not we actually agree with climate change, and you look at it from an economic perspective, the idea of going to net zero will produce growth. It will produce 650,000 new jobs. If we lead the world...
But it's making people poorer, Nigel, right now.
Well, it may be right now, and that £300 I think Chloe mentioned, that was actually a long-term thing, not a short-term thing, that would be a saving on that. But if you go down the route of developing green technology in this country, that will mean we can export it to other people rather than having to buy it in later.
Chloe.
So they're not very good at managing expectations in the Labour Party. You can say, oh, that's saving 300 quid, that was a long-term idea. Ed Miliband gave us all the impression that if we bring in net zero almost straight away, we're all going to have our energy bills coming down, the economy is going to be booming from this green technology, when realistically things are going to get worse for 5 to 10 years before it gets better. If it gets better. If it gets better. And they haven't managed people's expectations appropriately. And as I said at the beginning, what this Labour government should have done is they should have been strict to start with where they're spending their money, and said, right, we need to get the economy growing to get tax receipts up, not increasing tax to get tax receipts up. And then say, oh, maybe we'll do some investment in net zero, maybe we'll give doctors a pay rise and this and that. And they've completely messed it up. And unsurprisingly, because none of them are qualified, this cabinet is so unqualified. Rachel Reeves, no idea what she is doing, and then the rest of the cabinet as well. I mean, you've got a business secretary who knows nothing about business. He pretended he was a solicitor when he wasn't even a solicitor. The only entrepreneur you've got in the cabinet is James Timpson, who's not even an MP. They simply don't understand business. I want to see businessmen running this country.
Guys, it's time for the yes or no quiz. You know how this works, Nigel. I think you're pretty good. Chloe's pretty good at this. Right, question number 1 to Chloe. Is Labour killing the economy?
Yes.
Nigel?
No.
Said that with a straight face. Nigel, does Rachel Reeves actually know what she's doing?
Yes.
No.
Ooh, disagreement. Chloe, should illegal migrants be detained and deported?
Yes.
No.
You're going to get some hate mail for this, you are, you know. Nigel, should Lucy Connolly have gone to jail?
Yes.
No.
And fifth and final question, Chloe, should the Union flag be flown on every public building?
Yes.
No.
That was a hesitation there.
There was hesitation, there was a tick, but I'm going to let him get away with that one. It's a draw, it's 5-5, because Nigel's answers, in my unbiased opinion, were shocking. Dreadful.
Unbiased.
Right, guys, that was a very feisty yes or no quiz. Coming up next, we've got Last Orders with top cop, former top cop, Leroy Logan.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
There's the continued threat of heavy showers over parts of Italy and the south of France for the next few days. Plenty of hot, sunny weather in Spain, and the same goes for much of Greece and Turkey as well. There are those heavy showers affecting southern Italy and further north and into the south of France. The chance of a heavy one in Nice. Small risk of a shower towards Barcelona, but most of Spain and Portugal dry and sunny, along with the Canaries. We'll hang on to the sunshine here, but a continued threat of showers in Barcelona and Nice into Monday.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, that was a pathetic ring, but it sounds like Last Orders at the bar, and I've got ex-top cop Leroy Logan. Used to be a superintendent, didn't you?
That's right.
In
yeah,
the Met.
Yeah.
Now, the first question I always ask you, ex-cops is, why did you become a copper?
It was a vocation, actually.
Vocation?
It was definitely. The amount of hassle I was getting from my pals. I mean, if you want to reduce your Christmas card list, join the old Bill. I'm sure you know that. And in all honesty, I knew I had to join. I wanted to make a difference, serve the community, and I just had to follow it through. I was a scientist at the time.
Really?
Yeah, at the Royal Free Hospital in Hampstead, and I thought that was my career path. And then the calling of policing came in, and it was...
What was the calling, though, Leroy? What was it?
It came through various means. We had local officers from Hampstead used to use our recreation facilities at the hospital, and as a result of that, I got to know them. And it was just after the Scarman inquiry, and they're saying they need a more reflective organisation. And these guys were trying to recruit me, and the next thing, they start to plant the seeds. They took me on a drive round. I said, oh, actually, it's a good job. It's more outgoing than stuck in a lab. And then my boss said to me, you know, I really like your work, but I think you need to be doing something a bit more with the public. And I thought that's a way of firing me, but he said he didn't want to fire me.
He was giving you good advice, weren't he?
Yeah. And he basically said, I think you'd be good as a cop. And I thought, what? And then finally, a very close friend, Jessie Stevens, she was a community liaison officer and for the black community, and she said to me, Leroy, I think you have to be part of the organisation.
So what was it like then, taking that leap from being a scientist to becoming a copper?
It was very, very challenging because that was a very positive, diverse environment. And then I go into a very male-dominated, militaristic... It was like going back to school, you know, the sort of humour you used to deal with and some of the dynamics. So it was a real sort of culture shock for me.
So you say your Christmas card list reduced. What about your family?
Yeah, well, I mean, all of my family actually were very positive. My dad wasn't, to be fair, because he had been stopped by the old Bill close to where we lived over a traffic matter, and he got beating for his for no reason. And actually, the facts of that have been brought in a film with made by Steve McQueen.
Shocking, man.
Called The Small Axe, film called Red, White and Blue. So, you know, it was, for me, even more challenging because I'm now joining the ranks of the officers who assaulted my dad. And I remember even Steve McQueen was saying to me, if you loved your dad, how could you do that? I said, well, that's what a calling is all about. You know, you go against the grain, you go against the flow, you know, you want to make changes from within, you've got to work to build relationships with the community.
Of course, Steve McQueen's a black actor, not the one.
The black director.
Oh, sorry, black director. That's
not
right.
The
actor from who's been left years and years ago.
I should have said Sir Steve McQueen.
Sir Steve McQueen.
Sir Steve McQueen.
No,
So as a result of that, it made such a challenge for me. But going through it, the 30 years, I realised I had to go through that process.
Yeah, well, fair play to you, mate. But you look at the situation we have in London now. I mean, I'm in London half of the week doing my job in Westminster, and the city for me has become unrecognisable as it was 30 or 40 years ago with the crime, the knife crime, the mobile phone thefts, lawlessness, campments being set up everywhere. What's going off, Leroy?
Well, I mean, to be quite honest, the days when you could say certain types of crimes within certain pockets of areas, you know, there's certain parts of London you thought, right, that's aggravation, keep away, certain venues, certain pubs, that sort of stuff. But now it can happen anywhere. And you're finding that there is, you can get literally caught by crime just using your phone. Someone snatches it. Or, you know, you go into a school and you see people trying to groom your children, doing all sorts of crazy things, you know, that can end up in county lines and all this. So, and in fact, that's one of the reasons why I'm writing a children's book, because we need to help our young people to know their rights and responsibilities, really buying into the community and don't think, oh, you know, I'm being woke or...
Have we gone soft in this country, do you think?
I think we really lost our moral fibre, our moral direction. I think it's that corporately or collectively, as parents, we're not doing enough to give our children clear guidelines and boundaries and knowing what's the right and proper thing to do and appreciate each other. I don't think schools are giving a really holistic view of how to deal with, just interactions, manage our differences without resorting to violence or all sorts of, toxic behaviour. I just think that, there's a lot more anti-authority. Now you see people having
because
a go.
There is no authority, is there?
Well, I suppose that's a lot of people's excuses in terms of what would they have a go at. My sister used to be a nurse, and people have a go in A&E. You hear about people having goes in schools, with
we see it
staff.
sometimes, Leroy, when the ambulance turns up or the fire engines turn up, people are throwing bricks at them.
Yeah, paramedics and firefighters. It's crazy, and so I really think we need a reality check and say, listen, we can't just continue into this downward spiral of anti-authority, and obviously policing is on the receiving end of that. Because
when we were kids, if we were up to, let's just say, we've been adventurous and we saw a bobby, we'd run off.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you just stay there and put the phone in the face, don't they?
And also give them lots of that.
Yeah, lots of that.
And for me, that's one of the reasons I set up a charity, and it's now based in Hackney. It's been going for 25 years to say, listen, our young people need to know how to operate, withstand all of the issues that you can get on social media, because that's been the accelerant of a lot of this extreme views, which can lead into really quite extreme behaviour, and letting young people make their own decisions, make the right sort of choices at the earliest stages.
OK, so talking about choices, we've got a pint pot there, Leroy. Take your hands out of your pockets, sir, please. So rude.
Sorry about that. I was feeling too relaxed behind the bar.
The old neck oil. You've got 30 seconds to pull the perfect pint.
Pull the perfect...
And while you're pulling that pint, Leroy, I want you to tell me about your best ever arrest.
My best ever arrest?
Yes, which one sticks out in the mind?
Well, I remember when I was a PC, and God, I'm making an absolute pig's ear of this.
It's all right, mate. No, carry on. Tell me about the arrest.
And I was walking along Roman Road, just behind Pentonville Neck.
Yeah.
So this is my first station in Islington.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Cally Road. Some of us might remember that. And I saw these two guys stealing from cars.
Yeah.
And it was just me.
Stealing cars?
Stealing from cars.
OK.
Hubcaps and all that.
You can put that on the bar, mate. So,
am I going to show it?
Just put it on the bar, mate. It's all right. It's all right. That is in itself a crime. You can put that on there. Anyway, as we were saying, stealing from cars.
And I just took my helmet off. I was, the old days, the old black cape type things.
Yeah, like a tunic thing.
Yeah. Dixon Doctrine. And I walked up to them, and they looked at me, and they thought I was just a normal member of the public, because they're not used to seeing a black guy in uniform. And I did have my helmet on, so I took it off. And I just walked up to them, and I was literally standing over them, and they were still having these hubcaps. And I thought, this is what policing is all about, finding people in situ, really banked on, right?
Yeah.
And and then I look around, and then one of their mates come round, and I thought, oh my God, 3 to 1, I'm going to get hiding here for nothing. Fortunately, they could see I controlled the situation, and they even showed me to their vehicle, which was full of car parts.
Wow.
The really annoying thing is, I got an absolutely blast from the custody sergeant. I've got to do all the exhibits here. He didn't think about all the crime we're clearing up and all these bits of car parts. And in those days, it was a big thing. And for a probationer, it still sticks in the mind as being...
well, you solved that crime, didn't you? But you've
quite a few crimes.
But you've not solved how to pull a pint.
I think I've been set up. I think there's too much froth in this. I was going really...
I think there's too much froth in you at the moment, mate. You're just making excuses. I'll give you a 3 out of 10. That's Leroy Logan. That was brilliant, mate. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
Last orders. Thanks for joining me on Lee Anderson's Real World. Been another great show, some great guests. Coming up next, we've got Friday Night with Matt Goodwin.
Well, don't miss the show tonight, because we've got Liam Halligan, top economist, who's going to talk us through what is going on with the UK economy. We're going to be looking at that bombshell new Home Office data on what on earth is happening at our borders. We've got a top panel, and we'll be looking at the free speech crisis, while Lucy Connolly, of course, has been released from prison. I'll see you in a couple of minutes right here, Friday Night with me, Matt Goodwin.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's not a bank holiday in Scotland, but elsewhere it is. 3 days of largely dry weather. Can't promise sunshine all weekend. There will be a mix of sun and clouds, but it should steadily start to warm up. High pressure is in control. Trapped under that area of high pressure, quite a bit of cloud, and still through this evening and overnight, big lumps of cloud, providing a little bit of drizzle here and there, but most places won't see that and stay dry. Some decent clear spells across South Wales, Southwest England, and some breaks in the cloud across northern Scotland, allowing temperatures well down into single figures here. Most towns and cities holding up about 11 to 13 degrees. Into the weekend, it is likely to start fairly drab for many, but I'm hopeful the cloud will tend to break up. We'll see some sunny spells. Like today, Southwest England, South Wales should do okay for blue sky. The cloud thick enough maybe for a bit of drizzle over northern England, maybe the Midlands. And during the day, increasing threat of a few light showers just trickling towards Northern Ireland. Mostly a dry start across Scotland. We'll have some clear skies in the northeast. It will allow for a chilly start here, but quite quickly, once the sun's up, those temperatures will start to tick up through the day. As we go through the day, not a great deal of change. I'm hopeful the cloud will break up a little bit more and we'll see